Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I've got your first gameplay and overview from the dev server for the Sea Harrier FRS.1. This is a currently rank 7, battle rating 10.7 Squadron vehicle. That's right, this will be a Squadron vehicle available to all for the British Air Tech Tree. And this is something that I think a lot of people were not expecting for this update, but it is very much welcome in my opinion, because who doesn't love a good Harrier? And this has quite the capabilities. So more or less, this is going to be about as powerful as a Harrier GR.3. As you can see here, they've got fairly similar stats, about the same turn time, same pretty much everything, slightly better rate of climb with the FRS.1, but they do pretty much share the same exact engine in the Mark 103. So there's not really all too much different there. Oddly enough, I think this one has 90 kilograms better of takeoff thrust. Not really entirely sure why. Beats me. But that being said, this is the dev server, so some of these stats, figures, all of that are subject to change before the live server. As you can see, it sits right down here in rank 7. So that being said, it is very interesting because it can carry 2 AIM-9Ls and also has a smattering of other ordnance. So you can have yourself some snebs, which are excellent versus ground. You can use yourself some 1,000-pound bombs. There are 2 different, I guess you could say, flavors. More so when it comes to the presets, you have your AIM-9Gs and your Ls. Of course, the Ls are substantially better, 30 Gs of overload, and they are all aspects. So this should be a very dominant aircraft, at least insofar as Squadron vehicles, and arguably the best Squadron vehicle upon release. Now, that being said, let's get into a few matches here, see what this can do, but more or less, again, it will act like a Harrier GR.3, except with better missiles. That said, let's get into it. So one other thing that I kind of almost forgot in my intro, or genuinely actually did forget, is the fact that this actually has a better ground pound capability, if I'm not mistaken, compared to the other lower BR Harriers, so the GR.3 and the GR.1. So this actually has 5 1,000-pound bombs underneath, which should make this actually quite good in close air support and also, of course, air RB. Now, one of the great things about Harriers is that because they have such phenomenal acceleration, they can actually reach a lot of these bases, despite being subsonic, faster than pretty much anyone else. Don't know if I should have put 5 1,000-pounders on that, but I decided to do it anyways, and I got a base kill, which, as far as I know, this might actually be uncommon or pretty new, actually, for Harriers. They typically don't get base kills, at least in one go. So let's go after this medium tank, see if I can destroy it. I'm sure I can. Ooh, that's ugly. Woo! Don't even look at that gameplay. I just... I shot all around him. Holy guacamole. Gotta turn back around here and make it right by destroying him. Destroying one of them, at very least. So one trick that I have here, you never want to go full throttle on one of these because you will overheat, especially on a map like this. And also, another kind of... Ooh, that's weird. Okay, you guys saw that that hit him directly. You guys saw that that hit him directly. Okay. So I'm going to just keep making a fool of myself, but, you know, one thing that you do not want to do is go full throttle on these, at least not for long, because you will overheat. And additionally, I like to have my throttle, or the thrust vectoring, give or take, around 5 to 10%, because at that point, it doesn't really diminish your speed all too much, but it does give you a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Finally, it gives you a little bit more when it comes to maneuverability, and these are not maneuverable aircraft. Now, an aircraft like the Harrier GR.7, for example, is very much maneuverable. Much more so than this. It is a bit faster, it's got better armament, so on and so forth. The Harrier GR.7 is, as of right now, the top Harrier in War Thunder. It's very, very obvious. But this is actually pretty damn decent in and of itself, and I'd say outside of the Harrier GR.7, this is probably the best Harrier in game right now. In fact, actually, outside of the Harrier GR.7, not that there's much competition in this field, but this is probably going to be the best VTOL aircraft in game. So it's just a... Ooh, that was ugly. It's just a very, very impressive aircraft in that regard. So I'm going to use my AIM-9... Or my AIM... Yeah, yeah. I keep wanting to say AIM-9-7 because an L looks like a 7. But, of course, it's not. Man, I'm getting ugly with these shots here. So let's see it maneuver, and boom. So that makes up for all the bad shots that I've been making, or not making. But ultimately, as you could tell, this seems like a much more capable Harrier than pretty much anything else in-game outside of the GR7. So, I mean, for a close air support aircraft, if you are a British player, this will actually do the trick in a pinch especially. And, you know, of course, it's just, in my opinion, excellent. You know, Harrier gameplay is phenomenal. In my opinion, it is some of the most well-balanced gameplay insofar as a lot of, you know, jets are concerned. And what I mean by that is that they aren't, you know, incredibly fast with no maneuverability. They aren't, you know, they don't bleed speed so incredibly much. I mean, they do bleed speed a bit, but it's not terrible. They have a good amount of close air support. They have a good amount of anti-air. They can do pretty much everything pretty well. Probably their biggest weak point is going to be the overall maneuverability, but again, that can be somewhat fixed by switching up your thrust vectoring controls. That being said, let's get into maybe one more match, see what we could do, but ultimately one of the biggest problems when it comes to close air, or when it comes to dev server gameplay, is that you are ultimately facing just a bunch of bots for the most part, and even if you're not facing bots, you are facing planes that totally outclass yours. But this is a 10.7 BR aircraft, so I may as well get used to it. That being said, let's get into some more matches. How the hell did he get through? Let's get into it. So a correction that needs to be made from the first video, the first match I was in. So the Harrier GR.3 and the Harrier FRS, Sea Harrier FRS.1 have the same exact bomb payload. So I was a little bit mistaken initially. So initially, the GR3 actually could only carry 3 or up to 4 bombs, depending on your loadout preset. But they have since added custom loadouts to the Harrier GR3, or at least they are going to be adding them. I'm not sure if they're on the live server right now, but yeah, it looks like there are, or at least will be, custom loadouts on the Harrier GR3, which will allow for the carrying of up to 5 bombs, and of course 2 AIM-9Gs, but again, they are not AIM-9Ls, and I believe this has a little bit better maneuverability, and possibly also a better radar. Correct me if I'm wrong in that regard. Now that said, let's go bomb this base here. I believe that these take 5 bombs, if I'm not mistaken, at around this BR, 5 1,000-pound bombs, so it has the perfect payload to destroy a base. But ultimately, one of the biggest downfalls of dev server gameplay is, again, unfortunately, that what we have here, farts. What we have here is a, yeah, really, you needed to do that? You needed to do that? You're not even a real player. But you have a lack of enemy players to have to fight against, and that really kind of sucks, you know, because you want to test out X or Y missile, you want to test out X or Y plane, and unfortunately, it just doesn't work like that a lot of the time. So hopefully we get something, but okay, it looks like my enemy team has just died. That being said, I mean, ultimately, this is pretty much a Harrier GR3 plus AIM-9Ls, so it's good, but how good, I'm not entirely sure. I got real lucky there. Oh, looks like we have some enemy planes now. Okay. Let's go back over to their base and harass them as they get up, because they are bots, and who cares? But in all, I think that this is going to be a very capable aircraft. Very, very powerful, but it's not really something that I think is going to be a game changer, because of course you have lower BR aircraft that can also carry AIM-9Ls. You know, so 10.7 BR aircraft, especially a Harrier subsonic that can carry AIM-9Ls, will be nice. And I'm sure a lot of fans of the British Air Tech Tree will actually like to play this. But of course, it's not like it's an F-16. You know, it doesn't have the ability to carry 4 missiles. It can still only carry 2 regardless. You know, it's not a Harrier GR7. It's a good plane. It's just, I don't know, not phenomenal. So that said, let's just get into range of this guy, fire an AIM-9L at him, and, you know, once we get kind of out of the range of the sun. 3, 2, 1, there we go. You always want to get within about 2.5-ish kilometers of them. give or take, and you should be able to get a kill. There we go. So that said, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.